It's time once again to rank what the best and the worst Antiquity Age civs are in Civ 7. Hey everyone, this is Connor here at Civ House, joined by Rob today, and this time we're going to break this down together. I don't know if you all remember, but a few months ago, back in the summer, early summer, I went through kind of each age, Antiquity, Exploration, Modern, and ranked all of the civs. But since then, honestly, we've had a lot of patches, we've had a lot of changes, we've had new civs added. So Rob and I figured, let's just hop in this together this time, talk it through. Rob's got some different opinions on what civs are good than I do, so we gotta reconcile that on the battlegrounds of the tier list. So, Rob, we're gonna get into this. What are you excited about this? You've been you got any sleeper, predictions for us? What's going on in the noggin? I don't know.
I mean, I didn't know that we were going to be battling it out.
Yeah, maybe that's,
I guess if you're ready to throw hands, we can throw hands over some Civ stuff. There's no doubt about it. Look, I'm excited to do these with you. I definitely had some opinions last time as well, but we were just so busy I didn't get a chance to jump on with you, so I'm glad that I get to this time. Also, shout out to Jacobian membership. Make sure you guys join the members so you guys can get some cool stuff with it. And then, make sure you guys like and subscribe. Let us know in the comments section below what we missed on, because we know we're going to. That's just how it goes. Some of these civs we don't get to play as often as other ones, right? And that's just kind of how it goes. So there are some that we lean towards that we like, some that we don't. Most of you know that there's one in particular in here that I use in a lot of different build guides. So I'm sure you guys will probably be able to guess where that one's going to go. But I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
Connor, I know that you are too. And yeah. Are we going just alphabetical?
Yeah, I think so, and I'll do a quick preface to get the kind of last one out of the way. This is intended for just kind of against AI. This is not a multiplayer tier list. This is assuming that you're playing against likely an AI. Rob and I usually sample these on either Immortal or Deity difficulty. That's usually what him and I gravitate towards, with custom ones, maybe some kind of in between there. But yeah, we're going to go alphabetical, and we'll just go through one civ at a time here. And so let's start with the Aksum, Rob. This is a cultural economic civ. Basically, this is a civ that is really good on natural rivers. They're good with trading. Looking at some of their civic tree kind of perks right now. They gain culture adjacency with Hawilt, with the unique improvement the Hawilt they have, which is a gold with some culture adjacency bonuses as well. They get the Dao naval unit, which they get improvements to that in their civic tree, but that is a unique naval unit that has combat strength on coast tiles and has a charge to create a naval trade route. So this is basically a ship. It's a military unit. I think I misspoke a second ago. It's a military unit that can be basically also used as a trading vessel. They've got a few other things as well. They've got a pure trade ship. They've got their kind of associated wonder is the Great Steel. I think I'm saying that right. Steel. Not sure.
I think it's Steel, yeah.
And that's the one that basically the more wonders you build, the better. It rewards you for stacking wonders. So when this one says it's cultural economic, it really does mean that. But at the end of the day, we have to place this in a tier. I think what we do, Rob, and I'm open to interpretation on this, but I think we kind of both give a kind of where we're feeling this one should land at, and then we'll try to reconcile between the two of us. That's really what I meant by battling. Maybe poor choice of words, but.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I just was worried for my mortal soul. That's all.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I think that's fine.
Yeah, so I would probably have this somewhere in the B to C tier range. I don't think that this is a civ that most people go to in the Antiquity Age to try and truly dominate, but I will say it is one of the only kind of pure economic choices. So I do want to give it some credit there, but Rob, what are you feeling on this one?
So I will say I think it's pretty solid, actually, economically as an economic player. There are a lot of economic civs in the Antiquity Age. I think I've counted 5 that technically fall under that, which is a bit. It might be the most even within this early time period, or one of the most. I've played it a decent bit, as you know. I think I've even maybe played it on stream at one point, or on a Let's Play at some point. But I think the Dao is actually really, really good. I think you can kind of dominate In terms of the waterways, right? You can kind of get yourself set up really well for the exploration age with it. I think the Great Steely works really well with it as well. The Tonqua is actually a really nice unit, just in the fact that it can't be plundered, all that kind of stuff. The problem is I actually think its civics are where it struggles the most. I like the ability, I like the units, I like the unique infrastructure, or the unique building, whatever you want to call it, right? And I really like the Wonder because getting a Great Steely early, if you're going to be somebody who's going down that cultural path, I think works really, really well. The +2 gold on resources is outstanding, but I don't love its civics. Because of that, I put it in B personally, so I would agree with you. It is at or near the bottom of my B tier list. Mostly just because of the fact that I think that there are better economic civs.
Yeah.
We will get to one here relatively soon. And I just think that the civics with it are not bad, but they're just not that great. And the last thing I'll say on it as well is like, it's only got one unique building. I think a lot of these unique quarters and stuff that are within, pretty much almost every other civ on here are just a lot better.
Yeah, to that point, I think that the only pushback I would give is the focus of this really is so much trade. Like, you're trying to have as many trade routes going as possible, so, like, having the extra units isn't bad to that end. But yeah, I agree with you. The civic tree is somewhat underwhelming. But, I mean, that being said, the tradition, Port of Nations, increased golden culture for every active trade route. If you can get that kind of thing stacking, with a character, maybe you're playing this with Eben, maybe you're playing it with like a Xerxes Achaemenid or something like that, where there is a heavy emphasis on kind of trading and diplomacy right away. I can see this being good, but I think, Rob, we're on the same page. Let's go B tier, and we'll see where it falls on B tier. But I think this feels like a pretty solid ranking as far as I'm concerned for the Aksum. But
yeah, no problem with it.
Let's move on to Assyria next. Our first new civ. Actually, this will be our kind of only new civ for the Antiquity Age. This dropped with the this is, I guess, Right to Rule. Yeah, this is the Genghis Khan.
Yeah, this is Right to Rule.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I have played a lot of Assyria. Recently, I've been playing an active Let's Play on the channel with Genghis Khan. Be sure to check that out if you get a chance. I'm on episode, I think 6 will be the next episode. And we started with Assyria in the Antiquity Age. And I didn't battle as much as I should have, honestly. I think I got some feedback in the Let's Play about that. But if you can get Assyria going, it is unbelievable. We'll walk through a little bit about it here. A lot of the civics give you basically bonuses. Like, you can get things like increased settlement limit. A lot of things basically pushing you to, gain benefits from cities that you didn't settle. Towns you didn't settle, right? Things not founded by you, I guess the language that Civ uses. There's some things like, the unique buildings, the unique quarter that gives you production for great work. There's codex slots. I think one of the big things in this is I forget exactly, but it has something to do with how you get codices. Maybe I think it's the tier 1 of the civic tree. Unlocks the Royal Library unique building
and the treasures of Nineveh too.
Yes, yeah. So it's basically like your primary mode of advancement with Assyria needs to be conquering other settlements and playing offensively. And if you can do that, I think this civ feels crazy strong. You have the unique cavalry unit, you have a unique commander. There's a lot to like here, Rob, with Assyria.
Yeah, look, I think that this is one of the strongest civs, potentially even in the game, and obviously it's a new one, so I understand that that's the way that it's going to go, but just its units, I think, are really, really good. I really like the way, and I even saw you playing with this as well, like, being able to get your codices in such a unique fashion, I think is really nice. It fits historically with the way Assyria was as well. And look, like, science is really good. We have found out, right? They've had to nerf different, civs and leaders who are strong scientifically for a while. It would not surprise me to see them, nerf Assyria at some point. I do think it's really, really strong right now. And maybe it's just because people are used to it, but are getting used to it still. But like, from what I've seen you play, from the brief amount of Assyria that I have played, I was more than happy to put it into S tier. I think it's really good. And the last thing I'll say on this too is I think military and science go together so well, right? And I think being able to basically kind of get your first settlement, maybe your second settlement with Assyria, and then just going all out military, conquering as much as you can. I think it's a really good early game strategy and one that can actually play over very well into the exploration age. I'm a big fan of it, and yeah, S tier for me.
Yep, I completely agree. Like the tradition, the guru tradition, where you gain production and food and settlements not founded by you. I still am using that constantly. Like that's one that if you're playing a military style, you can stick with the entire game, like into the modern age. Even I think it's still probably pretty valuable. And yeah, with Genghis Khan, this just feels like unreal synergy. You know,
So strong.
Genghis's ability to send units over and claim all units in the adjacency, like independent power units, basically. And then having a unique commander to go along with that, I mean, it feels very strong. Your power spike happens very quickly. So I'm with you, Rob. This is an S tier for sure for me. The only question is going to be how high an S tier does Assyria maintain? We'll get to that shortly. Yeah. Let's start next with Carthage. This is one of your favorite civs, Rob, so maybe I'll let you take kind of spearhead on this one. You probably played them more than I have, but yeah, I feel like Carthage feels pretty good.
Look, they had to nerf it because it was so good early on. Numidian cavalry were also like obviously extremely good. But I think what really makes it great is the fact that towns have gotten some buffs, right? They've gotten some love. And what I really personally think is probably the strongest part of the kit is that when you create a merchant or a colonist, you gain a copy of it. The ability to spread out quickly and be able to extend your borders to help your trade, right? The ability to defend them with the Numidian cavalry, the Punic port, being able to, even keep those different resources that you're going to have coming in. You have production in the coffin. You have, just so many different ways to kind of keep yourself within a game. It's genuinely very fun to play as. I think it's a really good starter, civ as well. It saves you money because you don't have to upgrade all those cities. There are plenty of different leaders. There are plenty of different, exploration civs as well that will allow you to kind of make some of that back up in different areas. It can struggle, like with like science and different stuff like that. That can definitely be an issue with it, but man, the ability for somebody like me who loves to play wide, I love expansion. Even though it's supposed to be like you're focused on this one, city, right, is what makes it really fun to me. It vibes really well with me, so maybe I'm just biased towards it. But I just think it's really good.
Yeah.
And I really love it. And I am happy to say I put it, and I'll just claim it right now, I put it at the top of my personal tier list.
Oh, wow.
I think it's the best civ. Yes, I think it's the best civ in the entire Antiquity, personally. I at least have the most fun with it, and I just think it's very weirdly flexible as well. And I don't know. I think it allows you to get down your, paths really quickly, especially economic. I think militarily as well. I just think it's really strong. So yeah, I don't know. I just love the ability to get the extra merchant and the extra colonist. I think that that's just incredibly strong, and it allows you to do things that you can overextend. So you have to have a good military with it. I will say that, but beyond that, man, I think it's just really good.
Yeah, I think I agree with a lot of what you said. I think that I've played Carthage a few times, and I have had frustrating experiences with it, though, I will say, where I've run really short on yields, like for science and culture in particular. It's a very unique playstyle. You have to be willing to do that, basically. I think the only other limitation I see is that if you're not set up with a really good coastline, or you have someone immediately infringing on that coast or whatever, I do think it can hurt. I've had a Carthage run where I wasn't set up very well, and I didn't really feel like I could use the the dockyard or all these other coastal oriented things like the Queremi tradition. I forget how you say it, but basically like where you gain benefit towards naval units and makes it more affordable to have them. Like if you miss some of that and you're forced to play inland Carthage, I don't love it as much personally. Again, that's just my take. So I'm surprised to hear you have it at the very top of S tier. That is surprising because I don't even have it in S tier. I have it in A tier.
What I think it is I think with Numidian cavalry, I think you can play inland very well, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that you can do the seas very well, unless if you're dealing with something like the Tao, right? With Aksum and everything like that. I just think it's strong. Now, I will tell you, there are faults to its game, without a doubt. But I mean, I just think that I think it's the best economic civ in the entire antiquity. I don't think that there's one that I would argue is really very close with it. And I think it's strong enough militarily to where it can keep up with some of these other ones. Now, again, it's slightly, not completely, but slightly dependent on where you start. But you're basically going to start on a coastline pretty much every time. And even if you have to play inland, which you can, I think, very easily.
Yeah. A lot of it,
I just think it can go really, really well, and you can defend yourself well enough. Yeah, I just
a lot of it's
there are
resources
good
too.
civs, but yeah, well, and that's the thing is like I like to play on bigger maps. I know you do as well, right? So getting all those resources and being able to do so, I think effectively, is a lot easier if you're able to expand a lot quicker than other people. And so I think that just the fact that you're able to play, if I'll put it this way, if there's a better wide civ in antiquity, I don't know which one it is. If there's a better economic civ in antiquity, I don't know which one that would be either. So the fact that it can dominate so many things early on, I think is really good personally. And
we have to reconcile this though, Rob.
There's a lot more.
We have to reconcile this because I can't. I hear you. I do. I believe you. I can't get to S tier. It's going to be hard for me to get to top of S tier. Maybe we could throw it in S tier, but I would lean A for this. But again, this is a joint situation here, Rob. This is Civ House tier list. So
I think going anything lower than top of A right now would hurt my soul.
Okay.
I don't know if I could take that, and I don't think we want to be hurting any souls. I thought we talked about that at the beginning.
Yeah, no soul.
So I'm fine to put it in A. I know the comments are going to be like, "You're out of your mind. Like you just like to play it." And I'm going to be like, "Well, I like to play it because I think it's good."
Fair.
I don't like to play things that are bad. I'm just going to be honest.
Dude, I love it. I see that's my bread and butter. I love non-meta stuff. But I will say, there are situations where Carthage can absolutely roll. It can be strong. And I don't think like the cons outweigh the pros or anything. I think this is a good civ. I think it's better than Aksum. I just don't know if I can get on board with it being like top of S. But let's move on. Because we've talked about Carthage a lot.
We're good. We can move it later, maybe.
Yeah. Well, we'll do a thing at the end where we each move one or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Egypt. Okay. Egypt is culturally economic. This did get a little bit of a buff in the last time they looked at these. Felt like it was a long time ago, but this one is that classic. You need to be on navigable rivers. That is, I think, one of the key cornerstone things with Egypt. It's a part of a huge chunk of their civic tree. The Akhet tradition gives you food on navigable rivers. The Kemet gives you culture on navigable rivers. You get the idea, right? There's a lot of this. The Necropolis is a really cool, unique building, though, I will say. Getting gold every time you complete a wonder is really cool, and that comes with the Mortuary Temple, which, again, spoiler, helps you on navigable rivers. Happiness adjacency for that, right? So you have 3 stats available on navigable rivers for buildings right away, which is pretty crazy, right? And then you have their unique unit, which is one of those, I don't know how to pronounce it, the Tijati, I don't know. I'm butchering that one, but
I think it's the Jati.
Jati, yeah. This is where I need to look for you for pronunciations, Rob. I trust you way more than myself on that. But it's one of those.
I don't even trust myself.
One of those RNG ones where you can get a number of different things. A couple of them can give wonder production, which synergizes well. You can get a codex or a great work slot, right? You can get gold or culture added to a wonder. And And then obviously you've got the Medjay, which I think that's how you pronounce that at least, which is just essentially set to play defensively as a unit. It's really good in friendly territory. So the whole way you play Egypt, at least as I understand it, is you shell up on some rivers and you build wonders. And honestly, I used to think Egypt was really poo-poo bad. And I don't really think they are anymore. I think I was playing a Let's Play on the channel. I can't remember if I was using Egypt or not. I thought I was. I can't remember, though. But I actually enjoyed playing them. I wanted to play them after they got buffed. I felt like it was good. The only thing I will say, and then I'll shut up, is there are a lot of dependencies here. I mean, if you are not set up well with navigable rivers, or if you expand to a continent that doesn't have them, or go across the sea in exploration, which I guess at that point you'd still have the tradition, so maybe you're using it, but it just feels like this, it requires you to go through some hoops to get real value out of Egypt.
I'm not a big fan. I've played it. I've never really loved the wonder, like, race, I would call it. I don't think that those kinds of civs are necessarily that great.
Slander.
I just don't know that Egypt knows what it wants to be. I think is part of the problem I have with this. Like, it claims to be economic. There's not really much that has to do with, econ in its build, right? There's some adjacency bonuses for some of it. But like you said, it's really about kind of stacking wonders. And you gotta kind of get to a point where you have a couple of cities on a navigable river.
Yeah.
This is about as map dependent as kind of we're gonna get, maybe. I can't remember fully, but this is one of the most dependent ones that I have. The Medjay is fine. I think like they're a good unit. I think that there are units that are much stronger than it.
Yeah.
I think the Jati is okay. I mean, there are cool things you can get from it, but it's still kind of a roll of the dice, right? It's not like you get to pick them necessarily. So like, I don't know. Look, if you like to play with a little bit of risk, right? If you like to play with a little bit of randomness, and if you like to play a civ that I think ultimately doesn't fulfill what I think Egypt could or should be, then you can play this. That's fine. But there needs to be, in my opinion, more production built into it. There's barely really, it feels like, enough culture for it to be a cultural civ necessarily. And I understand, like, that's kind of the whole point of the building of the wonders and everything, right? For the victory path with legacy path, but it's like getting there feels rough, and it feels like it takes a little bit of time, and it feels so specific. Like, let's say that you're on one really long navigable river, and that's the only one that's kind of close. You can beat Egypt pretty quickly by just settling a city there faster. Like, if I'm playing Carthage, right, and I can put out 2 colonists and take over that river, right, that navigable river, then Egypt's just done. There's nothing that they can do about it, and you're just not able to do much. It just feels too counterable. I don't love it very much. I ended up putting it in the lowest tier, but at the top. It's better than it was.
Man.
Like, this was, I think, the worst civ to start.
It was at one time.
At launch.
Yeah. I think so.
Right? But I think it just didn't get enough help. And I remember even making the video saying that when they had made the changes, I was like, this is a good change, but it's not enough. When you're at the very bottom, you're needing a little bit more help. And I don't know, I struggle to feel kind of the play style as well, so maybe that's part of it. But yeah, I'll shut up too. I don't love it that much, but
I'm higher on it than you.
At the bottom,
I'm definitely higher on it than you. I could see this being in B tier or C tier. It would be lower. It would probably be lower than Aksum, but it's honestly close. I think Egypt has a much higher ceiling than Aksum. I mean, if you get pyramids going, right, that's gold and production on navigable river tiles in the city. So that's gold production on river tiles. If you get all the traditions
in one settlement, though,
in that city, yeah. So you build them in your capital, but you have civic tree perks that are also giving you culture, giving you production towards wonders, and giving you food on navigable rivers. So you could have food culture, you get happiness on it because of the mortuary temple. You have pyramids giving you production and more gold. I mean, if you can get a few of these things going and if you have the Nile running through your capital, this can pop off. This can be the best capital in the game.
Its yields are, look, the yields are very good.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. But the problem is, again, the counterability of this is...
But that's AI. Again, we're
really
saying
good.
the AI would be countering us in this situation.
Yeah, but like, I think that they will. I mean, we've seen the way they settle cities, even still. I mean, it's insane, right? I look, I'd be willing to go with C.
So,
I just think that, I know it. I know people are in the comments already going, this guy just doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know yields. I understand yields, but there are a lot of factors that you need to get this going. I see what you guys are putting on Reddit with these huge yield bombs with things, with different civs like Egypt. But when you are playing a real life game, right, and we're not talking about just what's on paper here, you have to take into account a bunch of different things. And when I take all those things into account, I do not like to play necessarily the riskiest style. I don't like to play super min-max. And I feel like with Egypt, you kind of have to, and getting the perfect scenario, right, or a very good scenario on a regular basis to get what is needed for Egypt, it just feels like it doesn't happen enough. So again, I'm fine to put it into C, but like, this is one where I think, similarly to how you talked about it, with me with Carthage, I just cannot go much higher than that, because I did have it in C. I moved it down to D, but like,
see, it's so funny. You and I are very different. We're different Civ players. This is the beauty of tier lists, right? If we had made our own, we'd have very different lists. I'd put them above Aksum if it were just my list, right? Just like you'd put Carthage above Assyria. So it's like, it is what it is.
Right. It's about for me in Civ, in any strategy game, right? It's about how easy is it for you to hit your checkpoints, to hit your objectives, right? And how often can you do that? With Aksum, it's really freaking easy, man. It's get resources, get money, right? And it's not that it's just because it's easy, but it is, and straightforward, right? Egypt is not that. I understand that it takes a little bit more of a bigger brain than I certainly have to play it, but that doesn't mean that it's necessarily good. Just because it's, made for smarter players, if you want to call it that, doesn't necessarily make it good. So I get what you're saying. We don't have to go much deeper than that. But I want to point out that I think that when people make these tier lists, sometimes they try to big brain stuff, or, when they're playing this game, I know that's kind of part of the point, but when you're talking about it, like, think about how many times you're going to play Egypt. You're not going to get a great setup, and then you're not going to be able to play it. Similarly to how you just said it with Carthage, there are going to be so many more times with Egypt where I'm going to have to restart my game because I'm just screwed early on than I am with some of these other civs. And I think that if we're talking about a tier list, right, for a normal player, that's why I can't put it much higher.
Fair enough.
I hope that makes sense.
Yep.
Maybe I just rambled for nothing, but
it's all good. Let's move on to Greece. So no, we can keep it moving. We can debate these all day. So Greece is one of my favorite civs. I'm happy to talk about it at length, just like we've been. I mean, it's a cultural diplomatic one, so think influence. Everything on the civic tree is giving you basically benefits to using your influence, so you're going to get more out of it. You're going to get culture on the tier 2 of Ecclesia. You're going to get culture for active endeavors, sanctions, and projects that you've started. So already benefits, kind of synergy there with using influence and culture together. Your commanders can, with strategoi. I went to seminary and I don't know my Greek. It's tragic. I used to know all these words. But in the Agoge tree, I guess, Agoge, you get commanders getting experience. You can kind of go a little bit more militaristic with your city-state. Suzerain status giving you combat strength. That's kind of a part of the synergy as well, as it can lean a little militaristic, but it can equally go very passively as well. And then your final one, you get increased influence towards initiating endeavors, but also initiating towards sanctions. So it can allow you, like I said, to really play either way as Greece. You can go, suzerain the city-states and then fight players, or you can go suzerain the city-states and have endeavors with players and be friendly. It's kind of the Greek way. They've got a unique civilian unit, very similar to Egypt, where it's an RNG-based one. Their military unit is the Hoplite. basically gets benefits for being near other hoplites, so you want to stack those up. You kind of have your, imagine the classic, your row of hoplites, the impenetrable force, very classic Greek trope. Yeah, I think that's what I've got so far. That's all. And then obviously the unique infrastructure, the unique building, the Acropolis, which just benefits more from city-state suzerain status, right? And you can get culture and happiness from those as well, based on placement. Now, for me, I love Greece. If it were like my personal tier list, not based on how good it would be, just like preference, it'd probably be top of S tier. This is probably, it'd be like second. It's my second favorite Civ in Antiquity to play. But I don't think it's the best by any stretch. I think it's pretty good. I think that if you're setting up for an influence style game, it can be, it is the best place, it's the best place to start, bar none. If you're playing as Tecumseh or Machiavelli, it makes a lot of sense to play Greece. And so I actually have them, I would say, probably above Aksum and B tier, but I could easily go A tier as well.
Yeah, I had them at the top of B. I could see bottom of A, so I think we're good there. Look, I think, again, I would take hoplites over the Medjay, right? I think it's better kind of combination for a defensive Civ. I think, you are able to work so much more. I mean, just the base influence per turn is so good, I think, on this Civ. And I will be honest, when they redo diplomacy, which I know they're going to at some point, maybe they'll even announce it before we put this video out. Who knows? When they do announce that they're going to redo diplomacy, Greece is going to be an instant S tier Civ. Right now, it's B plus, I would call it, tier Civ.
Sure.
I even like the Logios better. I think they have better randomness. I think it fits a little bit better with, what it is. And again, if we're trying to talk about what types of things you're trying to hit with this Civ, it just fits really well with what it has. It's just that the problem is that diplomacy is good-ish, I would say, around B plus. And this is by far and away, in my opinion at least, the best diplomatic Civ in Antiquity. And I think once diplomacy gets a little more love, I think this one has, skyrocketing written all over it. So big fan of this one. Happy to put it at top of B.
Yeah, I agree. I think my thing here is I've played Greece a lot. It's probably it's up there with my most played Civs. The hoplite is tricky because I usually don't play that militaristically. I mean, those watching my Genghis Let's Play, that I've made some mistakes because I just don't play that playstyle very often. I usually go more like science, culture, diplomacy, build up your empire passively that way, right? If you're playing that way with Greece and you only have a couple of hoplites, they feel pretty bad. Just straight up, they feel like a terrible unit. I feel like I get run over with them pretty frequently. But if you go the sanction aggressive Greece and you use your city-states to really leverage that power and go offensively, the hoplites become a mess to deal with. And they can just roll into territories and defeat people. That's the only caveat where the Medjay, you're not building units as Egypt. You're really not. I mean, I think it's a bad unit. They shouldn't have a military unit for that Civ. But the idea with the Medjay is you're building a couple to play defense. That's it. Now, with the hoplite, if you're doing that same thing, in the same scenario, I think they're maybe a little bit worse. But at the end of the day, I think if you go offensive with Greece, that unit gets unlocked very much so. So, anyway, I think all that to be said, I think B plus tier is perfectly good for Greece. I think you and I are on the same page with that one. So, let's move on to the Han.
Yes.
Yep, let's do it. The Han. The Great Wall Builders. I've played this Civ a little bit, Rob. I'm not a huge fan. You wanna kind of take us through this one?
I'll be honest with you. I'm not a huge fan of it either. I'm kind of reminding myself of parts of it because I've not played it a ton, to be honest with you. Look, it's fine. There's, I think, a good enough amount of science with the Junzi. The Shidafu as well feels okay. There's plenty of options with science in it, within it. The influence is certainly there, but I don't think as nicely as people would like. What I think makes it stronger than what most people might put, in terms of where they might put it, is I think the 9 provinces ability is very good. That additional population with your first growth event, I think, is really big, actually.
Yeah.
I think that can be very, very helpful. And I also think, and I know it's kind of a meme, but I also think the Great Wall is a really good improvement, and one that I think allows it so that you can actually use your ranged unit. Sorry, I forgot its name. There we go, the Chuko Nu.
Yeah.
I think in a pretty good way. Honestly, it's another one of those defensive civs. I think it may be one of the better defensive civs. For sure. I definitely would take it again over Egypt. I also like to play ranged a little bit more.
Yeah.
So, it's fine. I wish it would lean a little bit more scientific. It feels again like another civ that is a little lost on what it's trying to be. Because you've got influence over here, you've got scientific over here, but then you also have all this growth for expansion over here. So I think it loses a little bit of that. It's a strong enough civ, though, similarly to Confucius, right? Where I think it's good enough to be in B tier, but not any higher than that. I would be okay with it being there. I just think that additional population is really big.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is good too. And I think something we haven't shouted out much with some of these is the wonder that they unlock. But the Wei Ying Palace is really strong. Like I only shout it out here because it is a really good wonder.
6 influence is crazy
to be able to get. Yeah, I mean it's usually one that even if I'm not playing for wonders, it's a good one to have in the game. Period. Like 6 influence is crazy. So that is a benefit for them. Otherwise, like you said, this is not. I actually, if I were doing this personally, this would be probably my second lowest. I would have this in D tier, actually. I don't think this is good. I don't think playing defensive in Antiquity is really all that favorable. Like, usually, unless you have some things that can really, like Egypt, give you crazy yields, there's really not a huge benefit to playing defensive. Usually, you just want to expand. And I don't know that the yields here are worth it for me. The Shidafu, like you said, is another RNG unit. I always kind of give a negative towards civs that have those because they are so unpredictable. Like that's why Greece and Egypt fall a little bit for me, because of that exact idea. And yeah, I can't stand using the Great Wall. I feel like I never do it correctly. I might just be an idiot. There's a good chance, like, I am one. But I don't know how to use the Great Wall, so I feel like I never played it. I think I've played this civ earnestly through one Antiquity age. So maybe I'm just qualified in ranking it. But I feel like, at least from what I've seen and what I've done, and I've played some of the other Great Wall civs as well, like I think the Ming. Yeah, I don't know. So I would have this below Egypt if it were me. Now, we get to compromise here because we're a family here at Civ House. So you're B tier, I'm D tier. Does that mean it falls in C tier?
I think so. I think you're really underestimating the Great Wall. The fact that it's giving +2 culture, +1 happiness for each adjacent one, plus the 6 combat strength. I mean, that is.
But it takes other buildings that you can't put anything else there. It's not stackable. I mean, once you put a Great Wall down, it's there, and you gotta figure it out.
But I think if you're putting it on like the outskirts and other places where you should be putting it anyways, right? I don't think it's that big of a deal. Look, I mean, I think next to Egypt is fine. Wherever that ends up being above or below it is okay. I only put it in B because maybe, again, I just value the military unit. I think is really good. Yeah. I do value the influence. I think there's enough there. So I think that's why I like the Shidafu a little bit more than I like the Jadi. This is just becoming apparently an Egypt hate video for me, which is fine. And I think the 9 provinces are good. I think I really do think that its civics are better as well than Egypt. That's kind of why.
Oh, I was just about to say, I think the civics are trash. Oh no.
I don't think they're great, but I think they're better.
Influence on happiness buildings, like, all right, Influence on science buildings, all right. If I'm building Great Walls,
you're the influence guy. I would have thought that you'd be. I mean, like, no, dude, you're running.
Just play Greece.
The lead. Well, sure, that's why it's not higher than Greece.
Yeah, I'm just being a jerk. But yeah, I think C tier is fine.
Yeah. Oh, this is funny, man. I can't wait to get destroyed in the
This is
comments, dude. I
also
think most
funny.
people are gonna agree with you for sure.
No. For those listening, we didn't plan any of this ahead of time. We didn't show each other our lists. We just came into a call and we're like, let's do this thing. So you're seeing some real discourse here, Civ House viewers. All that to say, we're putting it in C tier. Listen, I'm the one with the mouse, so I'm going to put it behind for now. But we'll come back to this. We'll do a we'll talk about it at the end type deal, right? So we'll come back. But let's move along. Either way, Rob and I are not the highest on this in general, but varying a little bit. Let's go to the Khmer. It's Khmer, right? Khmer.
I think it's the Khmer.
Khmer. Wow, I missed on every front. That's great.
That's okay. I think I could be wrong. I don't remember now, but I'm pretty sure that's what they told me.
No, you're good. I'll walk us through it. So their unique ability, urban districts on rivers do not remove the natural yield of that tile, which is a pretty cool ability. Little map dependent, but very cool at the very least. Their expansion is scientific. They get benefits from like floodplain tiles. They have like a tradition. You reduce maintenance for specialists, increase gold from specialists. So a little bit of Han elements here where you want to go a little bit taller to start. They have a beret, unique improvement. Adds food, increased food on all floodplains in the settlement, so another floodplains building. They have a unique merchant unit that's immune to flood damage and ignores movement penalties from wet tiles. Great. A unique cavalry unit has increased combat strength but low movement. I think this is one of the elephant units. I'm not looking at the actual game, but I think it is. Immune to flood damage.
Yep.
And they synergize with Angkor Wat, which adds happiness and increases the special limit in the city. Must be adjacent to river tile. So these are like the floodplain fighters. Not a huge fan. Talk about a civ that I've this is down there for me with the Han. In that I don't get it. Now I could be wrong. I could be a big dummy, but I'm not a fan of this.
So I've played it. It's okay. It's not bad. Getting to your Uthahathi are not. It doesn't feel great. The berets are solid, but nothing like spectacular. Especially now that flooding has been minimalized compared to what it was, especially early on. What is interesting to me is that if Egypt's going to get production on rivers, it felt like there should have been a way that the Khmer did, because that was kind of their thing. Was like food and production were kind of the way they got rolling here a little bit. I look, it's fine, but it's bad. Like, I definitely have it below Egypt on mine, which is probably saying a lot for a lot of people at this point. It's not the worst civ in my mind, but it's not great either. Like you said, removing the natural yield and keeping that is good. The Vaishya is okay, but I mean, really, what is it doing all that much in terms of adding the root? I don't know. It's a fine merchant unit.
Yeah,
no problem with it. It's just that some of the Khmer, I think, it's too weak early on, and I don't think that there's generally enough time later in the game for it to be as strong as it needs to be. So it doesn't build up the way that I would like it to. I definitely think it's near, if not at the bottom of the tier list.
Yeah, this is my bottom tier civ. Just to be straight up about it, I think this is.
Well, then I'm okay with putting it at the bottom.
Okay, we'll throw it in D for now. This was my lowest. It just doesn't feel like this one. I mean, we talk about dependencies and setups. We've talked about that with Carthage and Egypt. Like this is I think the most severe version of that is like a floodplains dependency. It's just so niche. I know you're going to probably spawn on one and like have some nearby. And listen, like it's a little annoying when floodplains wreck a city, but it's not like it's that crippling. And this is one where I'd honestly be most curious to see people in the comments try to argue that this is a good civ. I want to hear earnestly players' experiences for having good games with the Khmer, because it just has not been our experience. So we have to rate it to some degree based on personal experience. So I think that's where it's going to come in a little bit here. But I don't think we need to talk about this one a ton more, Rob. I think we move on. But this one just doesn't feel great.
No, not at all.
Speaking of not feeling great, let's go with the, I never say this right, Mauyra? I think it's Mauyra.
Yeah, it's the Marian or the Moria.
I made a video recently on Civ reworks I wanted, and I looked up, right before I started recording, a pronunciation video of how to pronounce the Civ, and then I got to the video and I froze, and I was like, duh. So I think it's Mauyra. I think, but I could be so wrong. This is the Pantheon Civ. All right, so you choose an additional Pantheon after you get mysticism. Somehow, though, the attributes are militaristic, scientific. I don't really get that. Kind of crazy. Civic tree, traditions, you get happiness in science buildings, happiness in military buildings, gold for happiness in cities. Great. And then also science for excess happiness in cities. So there's a lot of happiness baked into this, which when I kind of attacked them on my last video, some people did point out, which I get. That is a strong point here. The unique quarter, happiness, and both elements, happiness, right? So that's we're seeing a trend. Unique civilian is the settler, adds happiness on city tiles. Crazy, right? More happiness. The cavalry unit has combat strength against fortifications, and a wonder that it's associated with is you guessed it, happiness wonder. So this is a weird civ for me. And I talked about this a lot in the last video, so I don't want to like just broken record myself here. But it feels like it's super disjointed. There's a military component, there's a whole lot of happiness, and you just get 2 pantheons. Like, from a design perspective, I really don't like this civ. Doesn't mean it's bad, I just don't really understand it. I mean, I wish there was like a unique, I think I suggested in the video, I wish there was like a unique Pantheon instead of picking 2. And I think I talked about like the cavalry unit just makes no sense here. I think this is another elephant unit though. If I'm remembering right. Okay, great. So all that to say, I don't think this is a bad civ. I don't have it towards the bottom. I have it low, but not like bottom. I will say getting celebrations is awesome. And this has a lot of traditions built in to where your social policies are really going to start to stack up. And the more celebrations you get, the more of those you get. So there are ways for this to kind of like really take over and scale. And if you're playing really militaristic, the excess happiness is great. You avoid a lot of problems with having all that happiness built up. So you can kind of just like roll out like this. And I think that would be the way to play this to get the most value out of it, like to optimize the civ. At the end of the day, though, it's just not... It's not something that really allures me. I think there's better militaristic civs. I guess it's the best happiness civ, but I don't know if that goes that far for me. So, at the end of the day, Rob, I'm conflicted on this one. I probably would put them in somewhere in C tier in our abysmal C tier currently, if I had to choose.
So, I'm going to be honest. I completely agree with you. I think it's totally random. I mean, you get science from like one thing. So what's the point of making it a scientific thing? Yeah. Then you're also getting culture from the Vihara. I will say the Purabhatara, I think is how you pronounce that. Behetara, something like that. Behetara? I don't know. It's a good unit, and it sounds like you can kind of stack units around it and kind of create a nice little wrecking ball for yourself. But here is where I laugh. One is pantheons and mysticism, or not mysticism, sorry, pantheons and religion in general in this game are just there. They're gonna rework religion. I think it'll make the Marians a lot stronger. I hope that they rework this civ with it. But the most laughable thing here, and maybe I am misunderstanding this, but the Nagarika, dude, what is so funny to me is, like, what is the point of making this?
Yeah, I think that's a bad unit too.
It's a bad unit.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, and like, why make a settler like this? At least with colonists, right? They're better, I think, in my mind. Like, yeah, this civ makes no sense because it really should be militaristic expansionist in my mind, with a little bit of other stuff thrown in
definitely.
it. I'm not going to let the title that they gave it, ruin that, but it just feels terrible. I'm not a big fan of it. I actually had it as my worst civ, personally. I think it's really bad. I don't think... Maybe it's just because I played the Khmer, but at least I've talked about it, right? I have an objective with the Khmer. I know kind of where I want to be and what I want to do. With the Marians, I just don't. You can talk me into military, but again...
Just play Assyria,
It's just tough. Yeah, I mean, there's just better. Yeah. There's better, militaristic civs. I even think there are better cavalry units out there. That's why Numidian cavalry had to get nerfed so much. So again, I personally would like had it at the bottom.
I put it there.
You could keep Khmer at the back and then put this in front of it. I think that's fine, but I just don't. I don't get it. I don't think it's very good.
I'll do it. I feel like we've compromised in my direction a few times, so we'll compromise in yours this time. We'll put it at the bottom because I agree with you. I think at the end of the day, those two civs are at the bottom for me. Probably. I would maybe put Han down there instead of the Mauyra, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. So I'm fine with them being lowered though.
Yeah.
Let's talk. We got four more civs. Four more. We're chugging along.
We're getting there.
We're talking. Let's go now, Rob, to my favorite civ in the game, the Mayans. I think this is the most fun civ to play. It has my favorite unit in the game. It does the kinds of things that I like, and it's just so damn fun to play. So, Palace gains science for adjacent vegetated tiles. You have a whole bunch of civic tree and tradition perks that give you benefits towards that. One of the coolest ones is, and this is the reason I love it as well, is the Miracles of the Twins tradition. Units gain poison, granting a combat bonus against wounded units. So then it turns into a strategy of you just tap each unit one time before each fight, get them a tiny bit wounded, and then you can direct people. It's a really fun playstyle. You get benefits with vegetated tiles and cities. Your unique quarter is very serviceable. Every time you research a technology, the city gains population equal to a small percentage of its cost. So great to be able to just passively grow your city with science as you're getting science from everything. The Jaguar Slayer is my favorite unit in the game, bar none. This is a unique, they call it recon unit, but it's a scout that can attack, basically. That can lay traps. I think it's every 3 turns, and you can just have them all around, anywhere. You can just have traps, which feeds into the poison ability, right? So there's a ton of synergy there right away. The Holche is the unique ranged unit. Can see through vegetation and suffers no movement penalty from vegetated tiles, which you're going to be surrounded by, which also helps you to proc the poison ability if you just need to like shoot people from the dark, right? And then it's associated with the Mundo Perdido, which honestly doesn't move the needle much for me. It's kind of probably the worst part of it for me. But I think if you're looking for a civ to set you up in Antiquity, and this has gotten nerfed, I think it's the Maya. I think it's the Mayan for sure. I would put it above Assyria in S tier at the very top of my list, out of personal preference, and out of, I think it's just the best civ. So I'd be curious what you think, Rob.
I love it. I think it's very good. I think the nerf did hurt it quite a bit.
Yeah, it's like it was like 1 to 0.5 or something on the science yield. It was a big hit.
Yeah, I think, there are civs that do the military a little bit better. This is by far the best scientific one, though. Look, you're going to hate me. I still think it's very good, to be very clear.
Yeah.
But I have it as the 3rd best civ. I'm going to start ranking them by that, so you can see where I have it. I have it just behind Assyria.
Okay.
Yes, I am somebody who has the 2 DLC near the top, whatever. That's kind of the point. That's why they make these things. They don't make them to be bad. They want you to buy it, right? So I get it. I think of the non-DLC, it is the #1 civ in Antiquity, without a doubt, in my mind. I think it's probably stronger than I'm giving it credit for, even still. I refer to you a little bit more on this one because it is your favorite and you are good at playing it. But I still see the value of it. It was my 3rd best civ by far. And I think there may even be a drop-off, a pretty nice drop-off behind it. I think it's those 3 civs, and then we'll talk about the next ones, but you could almost put them in a tier of their own in my mind.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
Okay, well, we have tier lists.
Well, let's throw it in S behind Assyria right now. I think that kind of appeases both of us. We can have Assyria maintain the #1 spot. I think that's honestly fine. Assyria is very good.
It's super strong.
But yeah, if you've not played the Mayans, I really recommend it. It's just a very fun. It's a good blend of defense and offense. You get a lot of science. You have a lot of advantage in your home turf. Just a lot of benefits. I used to love playing it with Harriet Tubman, and then they just wrecked espionage, and so now it's no longer the way I like to play it. So.
Hey, and let's be real, you found that before we knew it was OP.
It's true.
That was the first thing you went into. Yeah, literally day one, he was like, "This is good." And I was like, "Yeah, I agree with you. That is good." And then like within a week, everybody's like, "This is too good." And Connor was like, "I know.
I told y'all. I was here. I was there. I was there. I was day one. I was day one. Harriet Tubman Maya squad. Check the archives.
Love it.
Anyway, Let's move on to the Mississippian, Rob. And I feel like you have played this civ. We both played it. I think we both like this civ, but you've maybe played it a touch more than me.
Yeah, I mean, look, the, receiving +1 food, adjacency for resources on all buildings, I think is really good. Like, you kind of just go around those resources, which I think is fantastic. I think you're getting, sorry, I lost my spot here for a second. Where are you at? There we go. I actually like pot cups. I think you can kind of stick them everywhere, get a bunch of gold. Again, you're getting food. You just kind of stick them next to resources as much as you possibly can.
Yep.
I think that makes this one extremely strong. I also like the Watanabe. I know a lot of people, I don't generally love, the merchants as like these unique units, but this one does move quite a bit, which I think is really good. And where is this one? Sorry, give me a second here. Where'd I find it? Okay, yeah, there we go. Then what you really build around is the burning arrows.
Yeah.
Burning arrows are awesome. Arguably the best unit in Antiquity. I think you could absolutely make a case for that.
Yeah.
I think, this thing plays well into economic. I think you could replace expansionist with militaristic, but like you can kind of interchange those to a certain degree. I think the Monk's Mound as well is really good. The fact that you can get those extra resources, you're getting that food. Food got a buff. Mississippians are pretty strong. I love playing offense and defense with the burning arrows. I just think that they're so good. Especially against a lot of the units that are available in Antiquity. I had put them personally in my 5th slot, so near the bottom of A tier for me. Very strong. You could convince me to put them in B because I don't think that they're strong, a lot stronger than some of the other ones. But I think the objectives are very clear with this one. I think the offense is there. I think the defense is there, which is good. And I think you can make a lot of money. And I think you can do it pretty quickly. And I think you can really just build around those resources, and especially if you're playing on bigger maps. Even if you're playing on smaller maps, if you're the one dominating where all the resources are, you're able to defend them. And I just think the Mississippian, they were such a surprise civ for me. And I love the fact that they are as fun and I think as good as they are.
Yeah. With Assyria coming in, it changes it, but they were probably my favorite militaristic civ in Antiquity, because Burning Arrow, I think, is, after Jaguar Slayer, probably my favorite Antiquity Age unit. It's so fun to play with, and especially when you get that civic unlock, where you can pillage tiles at range. That's so cool. I mean, that just allows you to do wreak so much havoc, basically. And then obviously you get increased combat strength for ranged units as well, so they can just become even stronger. I like them. I'm actually fine with below Carthage and A tier. If you are, that puts them at the 4th highest civ. I would debate just like you whether they go there or top of B, but that's really just a semantics argument at that point, because it's going in the same spot either way. I agree. So I like it. Let's hop along now to Persia, and I immediately take back the sentence I just said. Persia used to be my favorite militaristic civ, not the Mississippians. What was I saying? I forgot about Persia. I forgot the civ even existed. What the heck? This civ goes crazy. I've had some games as Persia with the civ where I felt unstoppable. I think it was after they buffed the Friedrichs. I think I did a game with Persia, and it felt insane. I mean, I had 50 units at the end of the age just chilling. I think I was on deity too. It was crazy. So they've got a unique commander, starts the initiative promotion. It's huge. Unique infantry unit, heals for a set amount after defeating an enemy unit. Goes crazy, by the way.
Very good.
Associated with Gate of All Nations, which is a good, that's the flat war support. I think +2 war support in all wars, what that one is. Yep, unique improvement is fine. Just culture and gold. And then their traditions, you get gold for every town, production towards infantry units, and combat strength against units in enemy territory. So, again, these are all, military civs benefit from towns, because usually you're destroying other people's settlements and then not making them cities. They're just kind of there so you can own them, and that's it. Like, that's their main purpose, right? So, This one has always felt really good. I do think this is the reason we're doing this tier list again. This is actually one of the biggest reasons is a civ like Persia. Assyria existing crushes Persia to me. Now, the Mississippians survive that a little bit because they offer a lot of other things. There's a lot else you can do in Mississippian that's not militaristic. I think to a degree you have to be, but you can play that at least somewhat defensively and go more economic. I don't think you can really do that with Persia. I don't think you can play on the back foot with Persia. Now, they're really good still. I think they're still strong, but I think Assyria just feels a lot stronger to me. This is where there might just be like personal preferences here, but I would put them in like mid-low B if it were me.
I had him in C. I had them above Egypt, behind Aksum. And I was trying to remember why, Connor. I was sitting there and I was looking and I was like, why would this be the case? And I think it's because two things. I think the Paradisia I think is really not very good. It might be the single worst one in this entire, antiquity. And then while the commanders are very good, right, and the immortals are very good, you have to constantly be on the go, and you're not getting a lot to be able to kind of supplement that, right? You're not getting enough support, from the rest of your cities, your towns, your units, whatever, I think, to really keep Persia going. Now, Persia is still very good, and I think with the right leaders, it is an extremely useful thing to have. But you are constantly going to be like in debt. You are constantly going to be behind in civics. You're constantly going to be behind in science, and your cities are really not going to grow very much. You kind of have to win out. Like, this one is really and truly the glass cannon of Civ 7s, like builds for militaristic, especially.
Yeah, you got to snowball. Yeah.
You just have to snowball the game. And if you don't, then it's not great. And I just think, like you said, especially reminding myself how many defensive civs there are, like, I don't know that the immortals have enough strength with everything else that's in these to get out there. Like, what you're hoping is that you're getting, with having your commanders have the initiative right at the beginning, that's really what's going to kind of give you maybe that advantage. But if you're playing against somebody who's defensive, they're probably already set up defensively, and that's not going to give you as much of an advantage. You're kind of almost hoping that your immortals catch them in between cities and you get a skirmish with them, and then you roll into town, right? You kind of draw them out and then go in. So I don't know. I've played a little bit of Persia. There are times where they feel very, very good, but as I get later into the age, it falls off pretty hard. So that's why I had it as my fourth worst civ.
Yeah,
personally.
I think that I'm not that far off from that. Honestly, I can live with that. Let's go bottom of B, below Aksum, above Egypt, and we'll live.
Yeah, that's exactly where I have it.
Yeah,
I just have those other three civs down in D tier.
Yeah,
personally.
I think this is another one of those semantics things similar to Mississippians, where it's like, do we put them in B or C? I think they're good enough for B. I think when you can play Persia like it's supposed to be played, it can really roll. I mean, I've had multiple games with it, so it does feel good when it's doing what it's supposed to. So let's look at our last civ, Rome. And Rob, if there is a civ that I think of when I think of you in the Antiquity Age, I think of Carthage and I think of Rome. I feel like this is one of your civs that you always gravitate towards, and honestly, not one that I've played just a ton. I've only played a handful of games with it, so.
Look, it's a strong civ. There's no doubt about it. I think the legions are extremely strong, personally. I think the legatus as well are pretty crazy. When you think about like army commanders and kind of just how if you get to them quickly, right? You got to go out and get it done. But I think that they can be very strong.
Yeah.
I think both or all three of like the Forum, Temple of Jupiter, and the Basilica, I think that they provide enough to actually be called a cultural civ, unlike some of the other ones that we have seen in here. You're also getting like a base yield of gold from the basilica, which is really nice to kind of fund everything. And look, when you look at this civ, it was made to be one of the easier civs to play. There's no doubt about it, right? It's very clear in what you are trying to do here with the 12 tables, right? You're focused. It's like it's very similar to Carthage, but different enough to where it's, you're not just building up one thing, but you are trying to make Rome very strong. You're getting free infantry units and new settlements that you found. Like all this kind of stuff, I think is really good. You can build up a very, very strong military. And I don't know. I mean, just in all honesty, I think the legions allow you to do a lot.
Yeah.
A lot more than a lot of other units in this game. Now, I'm not going to tell you that this is the strongest civ in the game. Like, I just don't feel that way anymore. I do think it's a little bit easier to play. I had it in A tier. Personally, I had it just above the Greeks. And I think that is fair because it hits all of my things. The objectives are pretty clear on it. You know what playstyle you are going for. You are going for a wide one. You have the military to do it. You have the other, buildings that allow you to kind of build yourself out the way that you want to. And you can still make at least Rome very strong on its own. And if you want to go militaristic, great. If you want to go cultural, you can do that. And I think be okay with it. So, yeah, I think it's fine.
I think this one is a lot like there's a few civs in Antiquity that have a really high floor and a low ceiling. And I think Rome is actually one of those. I think Aksum's one of those. I think the Khmer is one of those. I think the Mississippian is one of those to a degree, where you have to play Rome the same way. You go the civic tree to get your army commander, and then you go and you get Roman civics because you get all your benefits from having Roman traditions fill up your social policies. So you have to do the Roman civics every time if you want to use the legion and get any kind of benefit from them, right? Which again, you kind of have to play militaristically with Rome, at least to a degree, right? You have to like send your commanders out to found the cities to get all the benefits from what this civ does. So but the lower ceiling does hurt it. Like I think Egypt has a higher ceiling than Rome by a large margin, but I think the floor is much lower too. So that makes it hard to rank for me. Like this puts it in a weird spot. I'd probably put it behind Greece, just because Greece does something that to me no other civ really does, and Rome, but that also creates a significant gap between Rome and Carthage that I don't really know is warranted. All that to say, I think this is a B tier civ. It's just really a matter of where do we put it? Do we put it ahead of everything in B tier? Does it go behind Greece, above Aksum? Does it go behind those two above Persia, or is it at the bottom of B tier? I'd be open to your thoughts.
I think it has to be at the top. It's made to be an easier civ to play, and I don't necessarily, the same way that I'm not necessarily trying to punish Egypt too much on it. I'm not going to give it too much of the benefit of the doubt. But I think it just makes more sense to play. I think it fits better, and I think it fits with a lot more leaders than some of these other civs do. And I think that, I don't know, I just think it's stronger than Greece, personally. I don't know, I just like its buildings better a little bit. And I think that, I try not to take into account the wonders. That's why I haven't personally mentioned them all that much. Because I think that, outside of ones like Monk's Mound and stuff like that, like I just don't think that they are 100% necessary to be able to play this civ. So I don't necessarily want to put that into it. Because I think the Colosseum is just okay. Personally, I don't think it's that great. But I think you get plenty of the culture, like you said. I don't think it keeps you behind in any way. I just think it's the base civ.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah,
when it comes to this game. And I think that that's where its simplicity really gives it that opportunity to, I think, be better than Greece. I could not put it below Aksum for sure. I think that would
Yeah.
That would be another one of those that would absolutely break me inside. I just can't do it.
All right, well, we've got a version of our tier list. I don't want to say this is a final one because I feel like we always do this when we make tier lists, is we each get to move one thing. The other person doesn't get to say anything about it. So I will start, and I think we both know where this is going. I am going to move Egypt up. This has been a funny. It's kind of become like a tone of the whole thing as we've talked about Egypt so many times. But I do think the conversation about Egypt is interesting because it's a conversation about how we evaluate civs. Do we give a civ, props for being able to go crazy and have these like insane synergies that line up? I mean, if you get the proper seed with Egypt, I'd argue it could be better than any civ in Antiquity. But again, I think that's devil's advocate to myself. You could say that to a lot of civs. You could say that to Carthage. You could say that to Maya in a really vegetated spot, right? Like you could say that to the Khmer, with the floodplains. Like there's a lot you could say that for, right? So, but I think Egypt's floor is a little bit higher than we're considering. I don't think navigable rivers are that hard to come by. I mean, they're not everywhere. I get that. But I do think they're a little bit more attainable, so I would just bump this up. We'll just say it's a singular spot. So I'd put this above Persia in B tier. Below Aksum. Would be if I get to do one. What about you?
It's funny because there are a lot of other civs that want to go by rivers, by the way. So don't forget that.
Definitely.
So if you're on a continent with 4 navigable rivers, there's one more available to you, essentially. Take that as you will. What's funny is I'm going to use mine to knock it back down. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that.
I was like, I can't argue with that, I guess. I checkmate, atheists, I guess.
No, because that would defeat the whole purpose. It would just be me going second.
We would just have our repeat list, yeah, which is fine.
Yeah, exactly. Which would be funny, but I'm not going to do that. What do I feel strongly enough about? I'm choosing between my 2 favorites in Carthage and Rome.
Which one you're going to bump up?
Right. Yeah, because you got to remind me. So what do we have in S tier right now?
S tier is Assyria and Maya. A tier is Carthage and the Mississippians. B tier has everyone in it. Rome's at the top of it, though. C tier is Han by themselves, and D tier are the poo-poo civs. Kidding. But
yeah, I'm gonna move.
Cover.
I'm gonna move Rome up.
To A tier.
Yeah, I'm gonna move them up. Like I'd like to put Carthage in S tier personally, but I feel like that one's just too much my personal play style. I think with Rome, it's just a good civ, man. Like I don't know what else to say. Like I think it's really solid. I don't like putting it in that muddled mess in B. I mean, that's just...
It was in the same tier as Egypt for 1 second, and you made sure that could not happen.
No, I think that's impossible. I think doing that is absolutely ludicrous, and I think anybody who would disagree with that is...
I'm loving.
Look,
I'm gonna summon. I'm gonna summon all the Egypt players, and they're gonna arrive in the comments, and they're gonna back me up, and they're gonna be like, "Yeah," and they're gonna tell you all about it.
Civ players in general, I know it doesn't help the channel. They're smarter than me, probably. Okay, they understand how getting their yields
you're a Civ
work
player
in such an intricate way. I get it, but I'm a different type of one, right? I am. Which is weird considering the types of games I like to play and the way that I feel like I am. I'm not like a brute force kind of guy, like, Braun, what was it? I don't know. I'm not like a beefcake, right? No brain, just all beef.
Yeah.
But like in this game, I'm a little bit more like that. I'm a little bit more that and economic, and I know that. It's just Egypt to me is just too risky, man.
Yeah.
I value higher floor in strategy games because there's so much unpredictability that hitting that ceiling is so much more unlikely than it is. Now, if we were talking about, if we did a tier list, if you guys want to see that, we can do that. A tier list of lowest ceiling to highest ceiling, we could do that. Like we could talk about which civs have the absolute maximum potential to be the absolute best version of itself.
Interesting.
But when that chance is like 5%, whereas with Rome, I know every game basically that I'm going to be at least this strong, I'm going to gravitate towards Rome.
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
Sorry, Egypt. I don't actually hate Egypt. I just wish it was a little different. I wish that they changed a couple things about it.
Fair enough. It's also, like you said, it's a playstyle thing. I'm always like more of a back foot player. I like influence. I like the Maya, who hides in vegetation. I like Egypt because they can just build wonders. No one bothers them. So it's flavor of the week for both of us, I think, to a degree. But this is, as you can see it on screen now, I put Rome above the Mississippian. They've been bumped up a spot. They're now in A tier. We have our final tier list here. As always, let us know in the comments. It's a tier list, so this is what brings the fire. This is where people can unleash what is the trauma in their life upon us in the comments. That's what we want. This is a place for you to vent, for you to tell us that we're either the two smartest Civ creators on the platform, or that we're the two dumbest. There's no in between with tier lists, so you're gonna have to just pick one and let us know. All that to be said, thank you all so much for tuning in. This is a little bit longer than we do for these Civ tier lists. We yapped a bit, but that's okay, because it's all good. But thank you all so much for tuning in. Seriously, appreciate all the love and support on the channel. As always, we're almost at 1,500 subs. By the time you're watching this, I bet we're over that, which is pretty cool. So, thank you all so much for the support. As always, we appreciate you. And from our house to yours, we hope you'll join us for one more turn and one more tier list here at Civ House. We'll see you next time.